building, this huge space here, open space here, was known as Fullerton Square. Fullerton Square. Yes, Fullerton Square. Looks like this. Fullerton Square. Fullerton Square. Yeah, Fullerton Square. Fullerton Square. And this one here. This is the General Post Office, Exchange, the Fullerton Square. And you can see the bridge, Havana Bridge, the Victoria Clock Tower. This open square here, during colonial time, it was the center of celebration. During colonial time, whenever there's dignitary, VIP arriving in Singapore, Fullerton Square was the place, an event to welcome them. Because nearby, on the right side, there used to be an earlier pier known as Johnston Pier, before Clifford Pier was built. So dignitary, celebrity, VIP, when they land at Johnston Pier, big parade here to welcome all the Tuan Besar. Yeah, right? This two building was situated here till World War I, 1918. And a year later, 1919, the British wanted to celebrate centenary year. 1819 they arrived, 1919, 100 year celebration. So they planned that they want to celebrate centenary year in a grand fashion by building a monumental building to house the General Post Office. But as you know, in any war, after war, the next few years will be recession, year of crash. So it affected many sectors of the economy. So the British decided to stop all public projects. It was only a few years later, when the economy was much better and stable, the British then decided to come back to take a look at this Fullerton Building project. Before they tender out to building contractor, the state settlement government decided to have an international architectural design competition. And a Shanghai-based firm of architects named Keys and Dell won the competition. They were British architect P.H. Key, Percy Hubert Keys, and his assistant Frank Dell. They were British architects based in Shanghai. They entered the competition in 1920 and they won the award. And when they won the award, they flew to Singapore. And the building contractor and his firm was given a budget of $6 million. In the 20s, $6 million, a lot of money, but it's taxpayers' money. Public fund, not the state settlement money. Construction began in 1924 and it took 4 years. Yes, finally, in the middle of 1928, Fullerton Building was completed and officially opened. And it cost the British $4.75 million. Under budget, you know. Yeah. Last time they can under budget by so much. Nowadays, material costs keep on increasing. They try to cut, but still cannot under budget. Yes. And when it was completed and officially opened in 1928 to the British Empire, this was an inspiration of hope for the future after World War I. Any question here before we move on to the next storyboard? Yeah, this way, please. So this is the facts and figures storyboard. as you know, you can see the budget and the completion cost. Yes. When the Shanghai-based architect won the award and they came to Singapore, the first thing that this building here, sorry I was carried away. This building here was originally a six-story building. Yes. And by 1996, the state's government had asked all the tenants to vacate this building because the state's government wanted to take back this building. And the state's government decided to ask the many government departments of Singapore who will want to use this Fullerton building as an office. But in the late 90s, Singapore was into IT. So back then, no government department of Singapore wanted to move into this old, musty, dark building. It was not suitable for modern office use. Yes. So the government have no choice but to let the public decide what they want to do. And after they tender out the public, Sino Land Company Limited won the tender and they bought over this building. And they also leased a piece of land in front of Fullerton Building to do land reclamation work to build the one Fullerton as a package. Yeah. So the redevelopment of Fullerton Building to turn into a hotel and completion of one Fullerton was completed in late 2000 and it was officially opened in early 2001. Now, 1928 June, the first anchor tenant that moved into this brand new building was the General Post Office. They occupied the whole of the ground floor. The ground floor was the main hall of the GPO, basement and the intermediate floors. Yes. This picture here shows you the post office postal counter. At that time, it was one of the longest, 300 feet long, 90 meters long. And this Fullerton Building or the General Post Office was an international communication center. So, if you come in here to do some mail posting, for example, bulky posting, after you've done the transaction, standing behind the postal officer, there used to be a chute opening. So they will drop that bulky item, box, carton down to the basement, and you'll fall onto a conveyor belt at the basement, and you'll travel to another room at the basement for further sorting. Now, yes.
Can I add in something?
Oh, yes, sir.
I worked in this building for 28 years.
Wow. Which department?
Post office.
Post office.
Yeah, just I was what call I worked in here in the General Post Office or in the first floor. Then the middle floor is called a mezzanine floor.
Yeah, intermediate
mezzanine. This is the first floor where all the General Post Office. I worked here.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
I did 65. So I work here, and this is considered the longest post office counter in Southeast Asia at that time. And here is you see what we call the counter is here. Then the postal clerk are there. And that time a lot of ladies postal clerk they work here. And what happened is very funny thing is that sometimes during what do you call they got pigeons and all that. Sometimes the pigeons will fly in and then And then they'll be on top here, and sometimes they build their nest there. And what happens is, after that, when the baby hatch, then the pigeons, what they call, they'll have ticks and all that, you know, ticks and all that. And then the girls are walking there, the ticks fall onto their wings. And then they start scratching. So it's like very embarrassing. So what happened is, so they put the what they call, they covered up the shelter. Then the pigeon no more. And then this one is the longest counter. Then after that is the basement. Basement is where what they call the parcels and all the big items are there. And the story is, the basement actually, last time when we were there, we were very scared. Because there's a story about haunted. You see, last time we got to work midnight shift. I mean, from what we call 11 p.m. right up to morning. And when we hear story about all this ghosts, very scared. And then so when we are in the midnight shift, outside the Clifford Pier near the Anderson Cabinet Bridge, they got Starbucks store and all that. So when we do midnight duty, we will buy tea and all that now. Then we will bring in. Then the next morning, two of these gayong not tea, urine. You know why? Because we scared. When we do midnight duty, we scared to go to the toilet. Because so take gayong tea, morning take gayong urine go up. So this is a true story.
Where is the toilet located?
The toilet?
Not every floor have one.
No. It's only on the what you call near the basement side. And then the what called the basement. Sometimes you hear funny noises. They have a lift which is like those very big lift. Sometimes the lift, because of electrical thing, it goes up and down. And you really get scared of it.
Then very noisy tap.
Then they what call, so the basement is, we are very scared of the basement area. Then also what you call
Roughly how many people work in the post office?
Few hundred. So the first floor, actually before that here the Fullerton Building, there was a lighthouse. There was a lighthouse here. And the lighthouse only shine on towards here because behind is already the lighthouse shine from here towards the what they call the Clifford Pier area. So there was a lighthouse here. And what they call other stories I shared with you.
The tunnel to the pier?
Oh yeah. So there is a tunnel which lead to the pier. Last time when the big parcels will not come by ship, they call it by sea mail. So the ship will dock somewhere near outside near the harbour side because the ship did not come near. So the tongkang, the tongkang will go there, bring all the parcel, and then they will come by the tunnel there. The tunnel, there's a passage for them to look to what called to put the parcel. Then the tunnel, they will bring through the tunnel all the boxes and all that, and then they will come to the basement side. Then the postman and all that sort of thing. So that passage is actually
the underpass?
Yeah, that is called underpass. Is it still there? Is it still there?
It's still existing. Part of it not the total part of it
Yeah, correct.
That leads you to the GPO pier to receive incoming and send outgoing mail.
So outgoing mail, because the ships are quite far away, so they have to put on the tongkang then bring the thing over there.
By the way, what's your name?
My name is Joseph Chung. So I work here for 28 years, and I always tell my wife this is my second home because I got so much memory of this place. And the masonry floor is where all the what you call the admin officer, all that. And when I worked here, the postmaster general was a British man. After that, when he retired, the local fellow take over his Mr. Bala
Yeah, yeah.
Subramanian.
Yes, correct.
Bala
Yeah,
Subramanian.
yeah.
I think he's still, I don't know whether he's still, I'm not so sure whether he's still, but he was the one, Bala Subramanian. Then the mezzanine floor were all occupied by them.
Can you a little bit
Yeah.
about this security office? That's
Oh,
before
yeah.
the time of CCTV, there's a security office, up at the intermediate floor. Do you know anything about this security officer?
we have-
On the ground
okay.
floor, they have this transparent glass panel to look down on
Correct,
postal
correct.
service.
Yeah,
It's not working, man. Using eye, using eye to check up.
So we have security officers,
Yeah.
and then they have a special place where they can go up, then they can look down.
Yeah.
Then they can look down. That means anybody filtering whatever it is, they will know. They will know. So that one is a they call it it's a place where special room when he's
Yeah.
inside, it's not like one way like that. Nobody can see what
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah.
But he can see.
Yeah.
That he's a security officer at that time.
In the past, money are put in envelope and delivered,
Yeah.
valuable. So
Correct.
just to keep an eye on this postal service worker, see they try to be funny, put an envelope inside the pocket and all.
I see.
So very tedious kind of work lah.
And then another thing is, we have the counter here, there will be some what you call letter writer. I mean, they put some letter writer. They write letters for a lot by immigrants from England, India.
Yeah.
So the letter writers, they will be here. So you want to send any letters, they will translate for you. Then you just pay a little bit of fee.
Just like Chinatown lah, by the Way letter writers lah. Joseph, is it?
Yeah, Joseph, yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I got to
Okay,
move on.
sure.
Later on,
I like
after
to
the
follow you.
tour,
I like to follow you.
Later on,
Thank you so
after the
much.
tour, I need to talk to you also. Thank you. Yeah, come this way. Come. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you. Yeah, sure. No problem. No problem. Thanks for coming. Now, in 1928, also moving into this brand new building was one of Singapore's most exclusive British European men's club, known as the Singapore Club. The Singapore Club. This Singapore Club was established in 1861, Yeah, and they moved in from a nearby building in Fullerton Square into Fullerton Building. And they occupied 4 floors of Fullerton Building. This Singapore Club had facilities like dining room, billiard room, touch room, yes, and they have more than 30 accommodation for the Singapore Club members to stay. And guess what? The community was very, very unhappy, and they questioned the authority. Why is it an elite club moving into this Fullerton building and occupy so much of office space? This is using public fund, not government. But as you know, this Singapore Club member, they are at that time very high flying, untouchable. So all the complaints were not entertained, or rather swept under the carpet. They finally moved out in 1961. And when they moved out 4 floors of this building, our Singapore government then moved in to take over their premises. So at that time, the Marine Department was on level 2. Ministry of Finance was also on this building, level 5. Economic Development Board, level 2. Ministry of Trade and Industry was also here. And in 1955, the Income Tax Department moved into this Fullerton building. And when they moved into this building, back then, Fullerton Building was also known as Inland Revenue Building. Yes, so Fullerton Building has 3 names, Some people call it Fullerton Building, majority will call it the General Post Office. And when income tax moved in 1955, Inland Revenue Building. Hey, where are you going? I'm going to Inland Revenue Building to pay my income tax. Yes, and of course, monitoring authority was in this building for a short period of time. The Governor Office, High Com, and the Chambers of Commerce. So in front of you, ladies and gentlemen, you see 12 unique individuals featured on this wall. Can you tell me who are these people? Anyone related or your friends or you have spoken with, shake hand with? They are all important people who have their office in this Fullerton building, and they are the ones who make critical decisions of the development of Singapore in the early days of history of Singapore. For instance, the late S.R. Nathan. He used to work in level 2, the Marine Department, as a seaman welfare officer, taking care of the seamen here, because this Fullerton building was right at the seafront. And who will ever imagine one day he will become the president of Singapore for 2 terms. And he also an ambassador in one of the states, I think Washington DC. Yeah? Goh Chok Tong, he used to work in Fullerton building in a private sector in this shipping company, Neptune Orient Line. And much later he was drafted into civil service, working in the Economic Development Board under the Economic Development Planning Unit under the late Dr. Goh Keng Swee. And he has said that while working on level 2, he used to go up to the rooftop to have lunch, because there used to be a canteen up there. Are you all supposed to go up there?
We are not supposed to.
No. The name of the canteen is called Spartan. And he has said that, well, the food is not that fantastic. But the view was very good. Yeah, the view was. And much later, as senior minister, he was invited to Fullerton Hotel to launch a book, the Fullerton Heritage book. And when he was here, I quote, he said that I had worked in offices on the 2nd floor, 5th floor, and also a small space up on the 6th floor. You can say that I literally worked my way up in Fullerton building to finally become the 2nd Prime Minister of Singapore, 1990. So he started his career here. Now this gentleman, the late Dr. Goh Keng Swee, many people know the late Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. Who is he? Better known as the founding father of Singapore. But not many people know the late Dr. Goh Keng Swee. He was the economic architect of Singapore. Because as Prime Minister, you need good men to be in your team. If you don't have a good man, it's difficult. So he was known as the economic architect of Singapore. Pulau Belakang Mati, today Sentosa, tourist attraction, it was his idea. When the British totally pulled out of Pulau Brani and Pulau Belakang Mati, that island became haunted. So it was idea, hey, why don't we turn Pulau Belakang Mati to a tourist destination attraction? But we cannot use the name Pulau Belakang Mati. Yeah, Pulau is island, Belakang Mati means lies death. Very unauspicious. So they rebrand it, they call it Sentosa. It's a Malay word, it means tranquility. Yeah. Alright? So it was idea. Jurong Industrial Estate, Jurong Bird Park, Zoo, and many others. In 1965, August the 9th, 57 years ago, when we were separated from Malaysia. Early that morning, all the senior civil servants were to assemble at the Istana for an urgent briefing. Before later that day, the late Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew would announce on national radio the separation news. So, the late Dr. Goh Keng Swee was in his office, level 5. Alone, he had no time to attend that urgent meeting, pondering to himself, what now after separation? What must we do now that we are no more one of the Malay state? So question for all you people, what is the first thing that an independent country must quickly establish or quickly build? What do you think? Never mind you get it wrong, just sharing information you learn when you get wrong. Yeah, I get wrong many times. That's how I learn. So what do you think? Military,
World recognition.
world recognition. Yeah. Young man?
Constitution.
Huh?
Constitution.
Constitution, yes. Yes. What do you think?
Survival and jobs.
Huh? Survival and jobs. This group here, anything?
Vote the leader.
Ma'am, what do you think? Business. Sir.
Everything.
Huh?
Practically everything.
Practically everything. In fact, military defense is the most important. Agree or not? If you don't have military, no defense, nothing else will come. So you must have military in order to have stability in the country. Then investor will come in. Then that's where you build the economy. So defense. But who is going to help us? They have approached several countries to help us. But all those countries that they have approached did not render help. Because 57 years ago, Singapore was a third world country, very, very poor country. And on top of that, no one knew who is Singapore, this brand. Not to talk about where is Singapore located. Nobody knew us. And talking about sensitive subject like defense, they all turned us down. But only one country did help us. So the second question, which country helped us build our defense? It's a multiple choice question. Is it A, Britain, B, India, C, Israel?
Israel.
Alright?
Israel.
Israel.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Israel.
Israel. Agree? Israel. Very good. Well done. Israel. So now, the first thing that comes to your mind right now, why Israel, right? You might be asking your question, asking yourself, why Israel? In 1959, when Singapore attained self-government from the British, the late Dr. Goh Keng Swee, he had visited Israel. And while he was in Israel, he was so impressed with the Israeli military system. The soldiers are so well trained and disciplined, and they are fearless. So that set into his mind. So on that fateful day, 9th of August 1965, he was up there, so he decided to call the Israeli consulate in Thailand and told them about the situation that Singapore is facing right now. And invited them to Singapore to further discuss the term and condition in negotiation. But engaging Israelis in the 60s was a very sensitive issue. Why? Due to our neighbor in the north, Malaysia, a Muslim population, in the south, Indonesia, also Muslim population, In the east, you have North Borneo, Sabah, Brunei, also. So how did the authority tell them that they are not Israelis? How? They told all of them that they are Mexican. Mexican. You may laugh, but that was how they felt 57 years ago. Yeah, because they felt that the Israelis have mustache, look like any of the South American country nationality. So just pick one Mexico. Today you might not agree lah, but it was 57 years ago. Separation, no joke, you know. Yeah. So things have to be very quick, you know, because you never know of this sensitivity that a civil war will erupt, you know. Till today, it is still sensitive, you know. Of course, back then it was top secret, but even those first few badges trained by the Israelis, Singaporeans who are trained by the Israelis, they were also told that they are Mexican. Yeah, if not, you know, all this. But today, of course, our neighbor knew we engaged Israelis. And of course, today, it is still very sensitive. Before pre-COVID, we have hotel guests who went on a cruise. And that cruise ship was supposed to berth, don't know, Penang or Port Dickson for a shore tour. So on that ship, there were Israelis coming on shore tour in Malaysia. The Malaysian immigration did not allow them to come down. That was before pre-COVID. So today it is still sensitive. Yes. And that's how we got started. Alright. Now any questions here before we move on? Thank you very much for your patience. Thanks.
Can I share with you this posting?
Okay, yeah, very good.
So,
Very good.
sorry,
No problem, no
because
more. Very good. Thank you for sharing.
This is posting box from New England.
Oh.
Okay, and then ER means Elizabeth Reign. Elizabeth Reign the second. That means during Elizabeth. Then the first posting box was Queen Victoria, 1840. The Queen Victoria box is this. I think you have. It's green color, but it's not this type of shape. There's something like there's a shape. It's a green one, and it is the word VR means Victoria Reign, 1840. So that was the first box made by UK Postal Services, and then they planted near the pathway where people walk, so people can post letters. And what happened is it was green color. Green color. So it's a green color. The first one they called it the Queen Victoria box, green color. So they put it near the place where people walk. So after a period of time, maybe after 6-7 months or whatever, those grass and those bushes and all that covered up a little bit of the green box. So it becomes like a camouflage like that. So sometimes early morning, before dawn or before sunset, people jog and all that. So sometimes it's not so bright, and when they jog, there's a green thing they saw, they bang against the wall. They say, "Ah, my goodness, it's green and green." You see. So what happened after that? Because of complaint, they changed the color. They changed the color to red, and then what? Somebody said, "Can we put white? Can we put blue? Can we put any other color?" Then one very smart man said, his name was what we call Roland Hill. He said, "We put red color, red and black. Why red and black? It is like number 10 Downing Street, the Queen's Guard. The Queen's Guard, when they change guard, the guard is red and then you got black. Yeah, this one. So it becomes like this. So it becomes red. And then after that, when the Queen Victoria, when the king or changed, from Victoria they go to George. Then after George, then Elizabeth. So now they are making the Charles range. Yeah. So that is the posting box. And then our posting box is, sorry, become this art later, you know. This was the first posting box of Singapore. I put this one. And I just want to tell you, actually I was working in the post office at the development and planning section. So when we became independent, we said we cannot use this type of box anymore. We are independent. We can't be using a British box anymore. So they say, hey, we post office people, your parents start thinking, make your own box up for yourself for Singapore. I was in that development planning, so I was there for quite many years. So I have some people around me, 3 of us here. So we were saying, hey, you better go and think of something, make a box something for Singapore. And then we will let PWD to go and finalize and see whether it's okay or not. So I got an Arab idea. I said, and we must have 2 aperture, because 1 aperture is not enough. That means Singapore oversees everything down inside. So we say we must have 2 aperture, 1 for Singapore, 1 for other country. So like that, like this one, see? So I said, okay, now where can I get the inspiration? You know, last time the baby talcum powder is something like this, but it's round on top, correct? But that baby talcum. So I remember my daughter that time was young. Then I got a talcum. I was sort of like rubbing with it. Hey, this talcum powder box quite cute, but it's rounded, so it's not easy to make round, and it also costs a lot of money. So I make a scratch, something like this one. Then after that, I make it right down to the floor. Then after that, I said, no, I think I better put a leg. So I make one, draw a square, something like that, and then my office there, they submitted to the PWD. PWD are the person who they will finalize the thing. So they took the thing, then they alter a little bit here and there. They said you what you call two aperture, and the word Singapore, last time the word Singapore post was not there yet. So until when we became independent, then we changed to Singapore Post. So from there they altered the thing, and then the thing was approved. So I mean, I was quite glad that I have a little bit of
Contributed.
something like that.
Thank you for sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, is it okay now we continue, because
Okay.
no problem. If you feel free, if you have some other appointment, feel free. Province. And at the age of 6 years old in 1934, his family then moved to Singapore. At that time, his family owns a soya sauce factory and grocery store. And he also worked as a bicycle repairman. And he was the eldest of 11 children. Yes. And as a young man, the parents expected him as the eldest to take over the family business. But he decided to stretch out on his own, and with some help and some capital saving, he started his property development company, the Far East Organization, in 1960. And he started his first property project in Serangoon Garden, Jalan Pak Chili. a 72-unit single-story terrace house. Sold it each for 20,000. Today it is still there, but it's worth millions. Yeah. Subsequently, we also went around the island to develop his property. East Coast, Katong Sea Club, Upper Kutima, just today or yesterday, the resident, the wall collapsed. Yeah. So, yeah. Ding Fong mentioned. Yeah, correct. And he went into retail shopping center. So the first shopping center he built was Far East Shopping Center in Orchard Road. Yes, Orchard Plaza, Lucky Plaza, Colony Plaza, and finally Far East Plaza. He also owned hotels. He went into hospitality. So back then, he owned 2 hotels. Hilton, today still there, and just beside Hilton, there used to be an old hotel known as Singapore Forum Hotel. But today it's a shopping mall called Forum Gallery. Yeah, same name. Yes. Of course, he now have many brands of hotel under his flagship, and he also have built a lot of property. So, in the early days, he really transformed Orchard Road to what is today. And because of his transformation of Orchard Road, back then, he was actually crowned the king of Orchard. Yes. In the 70s, he decided to go over to Hong Kong. And while he was in Hong Kong, in Tsim Sha Tsui East, he saw a piece of wasteland. He decided to purchase that piece of wasteland to build this property development empire in Tsim Sha Tsui East under this Sino Group. Yeah, Sino Group. So this statue is situated here to remind Singaporean and that he owned all of this property here. Yeah, he owned. Alright? Okay, come. This building was gazetted as national monument, you know. Yeah, the exterior facade you cannot alter, but internally you can, you know, change it, turn it into like hotel. Like many buildings built in the early 1900s, before the time of air conditioning, even they have high ceiling. Even the window is full length from the ceiling right down to the ground. You can see ceiling right down to the ground. And back then, at the top of Fullerton Building, there used to have 4 air wells for lighting, ventilation. Like those 4 columns, huge column, is not original. Yes, because to turn into a hotel, and that is the hotel entrance. So guests and public guests who walk into the entrance, they must have this kind of wow feeling like, wow, so grand, you know. So that is not original. But above that huge column, you see hanging like that, that used to be the billiard room of the Singapore Club. Billiard room. So they have to conserve this billiard room as it is. Due to URA strict conservation and preservation guidelines, during restoration, redevelopment, they have to put a lot of tiles below that billiard room to prevent it from collapsing. And they have to work their way up and work their way down it. So please imagine how challenging it was during redevelopment. So now I'm going to show you 2 photographs. First, redevelopment, and second, what is today, right? For heritage purposes lah. They cannot preserve the dining room, the games room, the accommodation because they need to release it to reconfigure to hotels lah. So the billiard room looks like this lah. The billiard room. Billiard room looks like this lah. The only original elements in that room right now is this unique ceiling. Unique ceiling. This unique ceiling is done by an Italian sculptor, very well known, Rudolfo Noli. Just a short distance here, Bank of China, you see two lions by him, and this unique ceiling also by him. You see the Bank of China, the pair of lions don't look very Chinese, right? Because it's done by a more European. That's why the lion look very cute and I would say not awkward looking lah. Totally different from the Chinese one lah.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
cute.
after you take a walk and see the two lions, very cute. Yeah, all right, and redevelopment. Huh? And today is renamed as the Straits Room for wedding banquet, for seminar, for anniversary, for solemnization, for anything lah. Oh, yes, but the ceiling is still there. Right? The ceiling is still there. Okay. All right, come this way. Thank you. Come. Down this entrance here, this used to be the south entrance of Fullerton Building. Yes, south entrance. And people walk in to the general post office postal box. And on the left and right of the staircase, this is the original cast iron lamp. Original. And on both sides of the staircase, you will see bronze chandelier. On this side, everything is done also in the military and has a rank of major. And on this side, post office savings bank. Yeah. All right, thank you. Now, right there in the front. Now, this storyboard here, or round bronze tub, was embedded in 2018 to commemorate Fullerton's 90th anniversary, known as the Singapore House Road. There's an international saying, I'm sure everyone has heard it before. All roads leads you to Rome. Thank you very much. But in Singapore, all the roads lead you back to Fullerton Building. Fullerton Building is the 0 point, or the reference point, where all roads are being measured. It's a British system. The British brought this milestone system to Singapore. So 1 mile away from Fullerton Building, the authority will put a granite stone marker by the roadside with the number 1, like this. Something like this. Another mile, another stone, 2. And all it gets its reference point from Fullerton Building. So the road crisscross all around the island. One to the western part, eastern part, northern part, northeastern, and northwestern. So certain milestone names are still retained today. Like example, you are staying in Upper Bukit Timah and Bukit Panjang. Milestone 10. Today is called Junction 10. Yeah. And if you are staying in Bukit Timah, where the Bukit Timah Nature Park is 7 milestone now. Chico. And if you are Teochew living in Upper Serangoon, Common MRT station, 6 milestone. Yeah, and other places lah. So the older generation, especially my mother generation or our generation, we still know lah. Yeah. All right.
So these roads, right, were already built in 1909.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a British system. The British brought in. Now this granite stone now is not small, you know. 2 meter in height, you know. 2 meter in height, you know. Now this stone here, with the tree inscribed on that stone marker, was discovered in 2015. One Singaporean, he's a heritage person now. He was strolling between Geylang Lorong 6 and Lorong 8 by the roadside. So he stumbled upon this stone. Normally for laymen like you and me walking along Geylang, you just never look back. You ask, what is this? Nothing. But he's a heritage person. He saw this spot. Immediately he was so excited. Then reported it to the National Heritage Board. And the National Heritage Board then went to this location. Three, and to investigate. But after investigation, he decided to extract the stone. So I have no time to show you the YouTube, so if you are free, go to YouTube, key extraction of milestone. Yeah, and you'll be surprised about 5-6 minutes. Yeah, 6-7 person or 5-6 person extracting that stone. 2 meter in height and about 35 centimeters protruding up from the ground. This milestone is a rare find, you know, and it tells the history of our Singapore public transport system. Yeah, so that's why it's today in the National Archive collection. Yeah, so as and when they need to display or exhibit it out during a certain event, then they will display it out. Alright? Yeah. Why this milestone system? Because this is a general post office, you know. Every morning, postal office worker will be all standing by, preparing to ride their bicycle. Some will be walking and carry full bags of mail to deliver in their respective zone. They will use this milestone to travel from point A to point B. And for you and I, trishaw rider, taxi man, bus captain, to estimate the cost of your fare. Yes. By the late 70s, this imperial system was then converted to metric system, kilometers now. So this tells us of our public transport system we had in Singapore. But I don't know, you guys from, where are you guys from? Philippines, do you have this milestone? No, have, yeah, it's a British system. Yes. Now let's go out a bit. Last stop here. Yeah, thank you very much for your patience. In 2015, Fullerton Building was gazetted as National Monument. Yeah, you cannot demolish this building because it has gone through tests of time, especially during World War II, 1942 to 1945. For 3 over years, Singapore was under the Japanese master. And we were no more called Singapore. We were called Shonanto, a Japanese name, light of the south. Yes. With Shonanto. Before Singapore surrendered on the 15th of February 1942, Fullerton Building was a temporary hospital. Yes, temporary hospital. On the ground floor, they have makeshift tents and operating table to treat the injured soldiers. 2 days before Singapore surrendered on the 13th of February, the governor, Sir Shenton Thomas, and Lady Thomas moved out of their government house, De Istana, because their government house in Orchard Road was being bombed by the Japanese. So it was not safe to stay in their government house. Someone make arrangement for both of them to come to Fullerton Building to stay in one of the Singapore's club bedroom to seek shelter, refuge. It was safer here. The next following day, 14th of February 1942, this British commander, Lieutenant General Arthur Ernest Percival, came to Fullerton Building to have a meeting with the governor, Sir Shenton Thomas, to update him about the war situation, that water has been cut off by the Japanese, food and ammunition in short supply. The soldiers have been fighting for almost 70 days coming from North Malaya to Singapore. They are very tired. Was this Fullerton Building, was this Fullerton Building bombed during World War II? What do you think? By the look at it. Who say no? Put up your hand. Was this Fullerton Building bombed during World War II? Those who say no, put up your hand. Only one. Those who say yes, the rest might be yes. Yes. No, it was not bombed. Before World War started in the Far East, Malaya and Singapore and Indonesia, Philippines, Japan have sent thousands of spies, and some who are residing in their respective countries, they act as spies to send information back to Japan, so they know exactly which building they want. So they didn't bomb this Fullerton Building, but the surrounding building was bombed. Yes, the surrounding building was bombed. This is Fullerton Building. This picture was taken up that street. And it was taken by an Australian soldier, Australian soldier, George Espinal, by this Australian soldier. He was actually stationed across the Singapore River. There's a church there, St. Andrew's Cathedral. That church was also turned into a hospital. And he was actually driving an ambulance, carrying injured soldiers to that church for treatment. On the 15th of February 1942, he heard that Singapore had surrendered. So he decided to dump his ambulance from the church across the Singapore River, and he decided to walk along the shoreline to see if he can find any boat to evacuate, to escape. So while walking up this street, he turned around and he saw this, and he was shocked. At that time, he has a camera with him. His uncle gave him a departure gift, a Kodak Brownie. So from there, he took this picture. Did he escape? Did he find any boat? Sadly, he didn't find any boat. So he was made a prisoner of war in Singapore. And he was in Singapore for a few months before the Japanese decided to put him on a train. And from Tanjung Bakar, he was transported, many thousands of prisoners of war was transported to Thailand to build the Death Railway connecting from Thailand to Myanmar, Burma. He survived, you know. He survived up there and he came back to Singapore and returned back to Australia. He also smuggled his camera to Thailand. He planned his photo taking very carefully. Per day he can take only one picture. One day, one picture only. And at night, he will sneak out into the darkness to develop his film. He smuggled his camera to Thailand, but in Thailand, the Japanese secret police, Thai, was constantly checking on them. So it was too dangerous to carry that camera. So he dismantled the camera, throw it into the well. But many of his film that he has developed was kept in secret hiding place in Singapore. So when he returned back to Australia, he told the authority where he had hidden the film, and they went to retrieve it. Many were damaged, and many turned out well. Yeah. So Singapore is a very unique country. We have gone through 4 national anthems. My mother generation, we were under the British. My mother generation, or maybe some older generation here, would have heard the British national anthem, God Save the Queen. Yes. Under the Japanese master, Kimikayo, everybody had to sing the Japanese national anthem. Yeah. Merger 1963, the Garaku, Malaysian national anthem. But 2 years, this unity lasted 2 years. 1965, Singapore gained independence, so we must have our own identity. So, Majulah Singapura, onward Singapore. So 4 national anthems. You name me a country or island city state have gone through 4 national anthems. So, Singapore. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Okay, come.
Sorry,
Yeah.
You see the center here, there was a big concrete posting box here. Then there are 3 posting box. Okay? Singapore, overseas, and this one is for bulky item. So it made of concrete. So after that, when the post office closed down, they went to the post office relocated to Chai Chi. Okay, now it's already Singpost by Alibaba. Then so they removed the thing. And last time, our posting box was what you call red color, as what I told you. Then when we became independent, we make our posting box so it was yellow color. Then after that, Singapore Post and Singtel, Singapore Telecom, Singtel, and Singapore merge. Then they said we cannot use this phone, so merge. We change the posting box color to yeah. No, this one. We change to this color. This is the post office scooter. You see the red, orange and white. Singapore. So we say Singtel and Singpost joined, and the postman what called the scooter is like that. And the post box was also this color. Then what happened after that? We changed to this color, or else what I was telling you. This is where I got a hand in it to do. So this was and I just a little bit of, and actually last time during the war there was some what called, because of the war and all that, some Japanese soldiers and all that, some I put in the basement. Then there were a few casualties, died. So from there, people say the place haunted. So from there, we always think that the place is haunted. So this place, there were some people died before that.
The Japanese during the Japanese occupation, this photo was taken here. This photo was taken here. The Japanese have want this building because they want to turn this into a Japanese administration headquarters, and there are Singapore's club bedroom there. So the Japanese high senior ranking officer will stay in the Singapore's club bedroom lah. The general post office still function as per normal. You can see this photograph, seated at the front row are this high senior ranking officer carrying a very sharp samurai sword. Yes, the GPO still function as per normal. Yeah. Now, after Singapore fell, March 1942, the Japanese formed an overseas Chinese association, and they persuaded one of the very prominent Chinese leader, Dr. Lim Boon King, to be the president of the overseas Chinese. The main objective was to mediate the community and the Japanese administration, but his main aim was to extort money from the Chinese population, $50 million, for the crime they have committed to Japan, to the Japanese. And they term it as donation gift. And the Singapore Chinese have to sell their asset, whole business. They managed to raise 10 million. The Malayan Chinese, 18 million, a shortfall of 22 million. This 22 million, the Japanese borrowed from the Yokohama Species Bank, repayment loan 6% per annum. And this $50 million check was held in Fullerton Building in a check ceremony and handed over to this Lieutenant General Tomoyuki Yamashita, the commander of the Japanese 25th Army. And this is a check ceremony. This is a check ceremony. Once this check was handed over to the Japanese commander, the innocent killing of the Chinese aged 18 to 50 years old stopped. And the Japanese released many prominent Chinese leaders in Singapore and Malaya. Yes. So, this building here has many memories and stories. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
That one is a Fullerton Square. That's
Fullerton
where Lee
Square.
Kuan Yew, when election time, he will be putting a stage there, then he will be talking. Then I'll be working inside there, so we know the rally is during the lunchtime. So lunchtime we will quickly go out and really look and then listen to his so after that we run back. So every time when there's a rally, we always make sure that we go there and stand there. So he will be talking. Then a lot of people all around here. By the side of that building, actually there was a shopping centre. I think it's John Little or something like that.
Thank you.
Justin.
Hey,
Joseph.
Take a picture, Joseph. You
Oh,
guys,
yeah.
I